Callaway have finally changed the name of the Epic. We're not seeing it anymore, we're seeing something else. And what we're seeing is this, the Callaway Paradym. What is Paradym though? So now we know what Paradym means and what it stands for, let me introduce you to the three models that Callaway have added to this lineup. So the three models that they have in the Paradym lineup are the Paradym Standard version, the Paradym TD or Triple Diamond, which I'll be focusing on mainly, and also the Paradym X version. What we're seeing different from the Rogue and the Epic is that they've taken one version out. We have the standard version, the Max LS, and a Triple Diamond version in the Rogues and the Epics. They've now narrowed it down to three models to fit three different styles of players. You could fall into a couple of categories of each driver, but they're saying that each one has a specific idea behind it. So let's talk tech that's gone into the new Paradym models, because there are a few different things that we've not seen before. Now, each driver has a different back section, if you will. There's two fixed ones and there's one movable weight one. In the Triple Diamond version, we're seeing two weights in the head, one at the back and one at the front. These are changeable, so you get a 2 gram weight and you also get a 14 gram weight. If you wanted the low spin version, you would put the 14 gram at the front and you would put the 2 gram at the back. From the Paradym X model, what we see again is a fixed location weight. It's not a sliding weight. It's a weight that's at the back of the driver that is a little bit more heel orientated to help with the draw model. Then from the Paradym model, the standard model, this is the one with the only movable weight in there. So at the back of the club, we're seeing a fade and a draw bias. So you could just slide the weight up and down towards the fade track and towards the draw track. And this is more for the benefit of the fitter to try and help tune your ball flight. And they're saying that in the maxed out positions, you should see 12 yards of curvature alteration between each one. But the big pieces of technology that have changed are actually in and around the head. Now, the biggest one is all to do with this carbon body of the golf club. We've seen it before, but the difference is there's no framework in here. So underneath, inside the driver head, normally when you have a carbon crown or a carbon sole, there would be pieces of titanium, almost like a cage or a frame that would help stick to the carbon to help hold it in place. Not the case on Paradym though. What they've done is work with Lamborghini to fuse two different types of forged carbon together to make it strong enough not to need the framework. So what you see from the driver when you look up on top is a little bit different from what you see on the bottom. Both forged carbon, but what we see on the top is this almost like crosswork, chessboard, weave-like structure. That's one way that they have built the carbon for the crown. Then when you flip the driver over, what we're seeing is this almost like sort of what looks like chips of carbon, and it's almost sprayed onto a structure and then it's set and it bonds into place. These two then are then molded together to produce the 360-degree carbon chassis. Like I say, with no framework needed to hold this structure in place. It simply connects to the club face and then the little weight port at the back. When we look at the club face, what we now see is a forged titanium AI face. And what they've done, we know that Callaway were interested in using AI to develop faces that were going to be a little bit faster. But what they've now done is actually develop the face to help you with your downrange flight as well, the downrange dispersion. They're trying to make it so it means that your dispersion gets tighter from front to back, but also side to side. So if you're getting some heel strikes, if you're getting some toe strikes, low or high, this new AI face and the way that it's built will help actually with a little bit of curvature correction and get that golf ball a little bit closer towards your desired target. A little bit like what we've seen from Roll and Bulge in the past, but with the massive amount of data that they've been able to do and actually build these faces using the AI, they've made it more so that it will help become a little bit more forgiving and help with that downfield dispersion. One of the other factors that we see is also the jailbreak technology carry on in these drivers. But what they've done this time is they've made it smaller, they've made it more compact, and they've made it 33% lighter. So what that now means is that they can distribute the weight elsewhere around the perimeter of the driver and around the driver head to help with your forgiveness. So by making this jailbreak, it's almost a wishbone now, the jailbreak it looks like. It helps in the fact that you're still getting the sturdiness from the face, so you're not losing any ball speed, but you're also getting extra forgiveness distributed across the club face. So a lot of technology has gone into this, but it's this carbon effect that is the big thing, that is the big difference. But that being said, let's get out onto the golf course, let's get down to the driving range as well, give this an initial hit, see what it feels like, see what it's sounding like, and also see what it looks like behind the golf ball, because on first impressions when I've shown it a few people, they've not been blown away by the looks, but let me tell you what I think about that. Let's head out to the golf course. So my initial thoughts on the feel and the sound of the looks of the Paradym TD after trying it at the driving range and out on the golf course. Feel-wise and sound-wise, it sounds really solid. It sounds like an old school driver to me. It sounds a bit almost like a Persimmon if you were to use that, but obviously with a little bit more enhanced sound to it. With having that 360 degree of carbon in there, you get this real sort of solid thud when you're hitting it. It doesn't sound too metally or tinny when you're hitting it, and I think, you know, from the feedback of the sound and then the feedback that you get through the feel of the club, it definitely feels that. Now, the actual looks behind the golf ball, the triple diamond version doesn't come with a little chevron, the alignment aid that we see on the top of the Paradym and the Paradym X Club. This is on the request of a lot of tour players. They don't want it, they want a sort of sleek looking, clean looking driver. Now, when I put it down originally behind the golf ball, I didn't think I would like that, but the more and more that I hit the driver, I actually enjoyed that. I liked having that sort of clean look. I'm confident of knowing where the middle of the driver is and lining it up, so it wasn't really too much of an issue. It sits really square, it has that smaller head, it's 450 cc's, that you do get that sort of foot pimp from it. It looks a little bit more compact, looks a little bit smaller behind the golf ball, so probably not for the player who's looking for a big head, looking for that ultimate forgiveness, but I'll talk about that in the X and the Paradym in a moment. But overall, sounds great, looks great. What I will say is that if you don't quite catch this out of the middle, you will get some feedback on that. It is designed for that tour player, that player who is finding the centre frequently, who is swinging it quickly. And if you're offline a little bit, even though they've got this titanium face with the new AI in there designed to help it, you do definitely notice when you don't quite get it out of the centre. So if you are someone who is maybe pattering the face, I would probably avoid the triple diamond. Now, when we look at the three models that they have to offer, they all are offering something slightly different. The triple diamond doesn't have movable weight, very much like the Paradym X. In the triple diamonds, we see a weight up near the face and we see a weight up near the back. They are alterable. You get a 14 gram weight and you get a 2 gram weight. If you want a bit more forgiveness in this, it's best to put the 14 gram at the back and have the 2 gram towards the front. If you wanted it to be a super low spinning monster, I would just switch them round. What we see from the Paradym X, which is basically the draw version of the driver, is that there is a weight towards the back of the driver that is in a fixed location, and it's slightly orientated towards the heel of the driver. Now this again is to try and get that little bit more draw bias on it. This out of the head shapes as well is going to be the largest footprint. So behind the golf ball, when you see the standard Paradym and you see the triple diamond compared to the X, it's quite apparent that the shape of it and the footprint is a little bit larger. Still a 460cc head, but the way it sits, it gives the appearance that it's got a longer back and hugs the floor a little bit more. So the Paradym, this is the standard model, and this is the one that will probably see most golfers fall into. It doesn't look as large as the Paradym X when you compare them side by side, but it doesn't look as small compared to the triple diamond. It's offering forgiveness, but it's also offering a little bit more adjustability. And this is more towards the air of the fitter. If you're going to go and get the club fit, they will probably slot the movable weight track that comes in the Paradym into a certain position to help correct your ball flight a little bit, and you would probably leave it in that position. It's not designed for really moving it around from round to round and trying to alter it there. It's more aided to help the fitter get you the best ball flight out of this. This model, like I say, is probably aimed at the majority of golfers, from maybe a professional. I would probably err towards that one, having tried the triple diamond, and just when you get those slight off-center hits and you see a little bit of a drop in distance and you see a little bit of curvature starting to appear, I feel like the Paradym is probably going to suit that golfer who's still got the quick swing speed, still wants that air of forgiveness, but also could probably suit the golfer who's maybe that mid to high handicapper, doesn't quite want the large footprint and shallow footprint and the draw bias of the X, but still wants that little bit of forgiveness. The Paradym X, like I say, is probably aimed at that golfer who maybe has a little bit more of a slice and is looking for ultimate forgiveness. And the triple diamond is probably going to be suited to that better player, the player who's swinging it faster, who's finding the center more frequently and wants to know that they've got a bit more of a low spinning driver, that they're looking for that slightly higher spin to help them with forgiveness. They know that if they do miss the middle, it's their fault, and they know the repercussions of it, hence why they'll probably be a bit more confident in their swings and know that they will find the middle a little bit more often. Now, I'm excited to actually try the Paradym and the Paradym X when I get those in my hands, because like I say, from the triple diamond model, I probably think that I'll fall more into the standard model, maybe a 9 degree in the X Flex, but just have that air of forgiveness for me. But I am excited to see those when they come along. One thing that we have to talk about though is the price of these drivers. Unfortunately, here in Britain, we're going to bear the brunt of most of the prices, because the driver itself is coming in at £599. For my viewers in America, you're actually going to get a slightly better deal, and that's just due to economics that are going on in the world at the moment. But $599, I would expect to maybe see this on the shelf at $579. We know that a lot of drivers do have an RRP and they do generally sell a little bit under those, but it is quite pricey, and we are seeing that though across the board from a lot of golf clubs now. They are shooting up in price a little bit. Overall though, I am, like I said at the start of the video, thank God that they changed the name, because I was starting to get a bit bored of Epic Rogue, Epic Rogue, Epic Rogue, and not really seeing anything different from Callaway. I think the Rogue last time was a fantastic driver. It performed absolutely brilliantly, but it just looked a bit meh. As where I think the Paradym, it's a totally different shift now in what they've done. I think the looks of the driver are brilliant. I think they will divide opinion. The blue, when you see it actually behind the golf ball, isn't as stand outish when it's out on the golf course. I think definitely from the pictures that you see on social media, when it's under the spotlight of maybe a shop stand, it looks a little bit different, and I think that's a good thing because it's actually drawing attention now. And again, even just with the name, yes, they've shifted their thought process in the terms of actually having no framework and making a full carbon body. So it is good, and it did excite me when I was shown this. It was a bit like, oh, wow, there's something different, finally. We're not seeing another generation of Epic. So it will be interesting to see how this driver does, because like I say, I was getting a bit bored of Callaway. But now I think they may have hit the nail on the head, and I'm excited to see the Paradym and the Paradym X and how they perform. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a little bit of an insight as to what is to come from the Paradym models. I will be testing out the other lineup as well, the irons, the fairways and the hybrid. So stay tuned for those, and I'll see you very soon.